So today's video is going to be all about the new Netflix series Squid Game, and it is absolutely insane. I've watched it all and I'm going to do a review here today for the channel. Now, Squid Game has taken the world by storm, and I think it's on track to becoming the most viewed Netflix series of all time, like the highest rated, everything. And it's only been out for a few weeks. 1 season, 9 episodes, but that was plenty to give you an absolute masterpiece of a story.
Squid Game has a rare 100% critics rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's #1 in 90 countries. The Korean language drama is so hyper-violent, though, we can't even show you much of it, but that hasn't slowed down the millions of fans obsessed with Squid Game.
I mean, the whole concept behind Squid Game is just so interesting and so clever. So 456 players are invited to this island off at sea, and on this island is the big place where all of these Squid Games take place. I'm not actually too sure what the name of the whole operation is. I know that the last game they play is called Squid Game, but I'm probably going to refer to the whole thing as like the Squid Games, but I don't think that's what it is. Pretty much they play games from their childhood, and at the start they play red light, green light. Episode 1, we kick things off. All the players think that this is a bit of a joke and they don't really take it seriously because it's strange, why invite us all to play these childhood games for such an insane amount of money. I mean, the cash prize was like 45 billion won, which is like millions of pounds or US dollars. So they think it's all fun and games until the first person gets eliminated, and by eliminated I mean shot dead.
324번 탈락.
병신 걸렸네.
A mass panic breaks out. Everyone tries to run to the exits and get out of there, but the whole point of the game is that you die if you move. You can only move when the doll says green light. So many players get eliminated right off the bat, and then we have the remaining players who were smart enough and, well, just had the common sense to understand what's going on. Like, yes, it would be very scary because you wouldn't expect it, People are dying all around you. I think the natural, sort of instinct would be to run, but to survive, you have to stay still, as still as you possibly can. And when you watch all of these people try and run and try and escape, and they all get shot, you may sort of, Jesus Christ, oh my god, yo, the window cleaner's moving mad. So as I was saying, yes, you may laugh at the people that are trying to run for their lives because, they're just so stupid, but imagine being in this situation in real life. You don't really know how you would react unless you actually are put into that situation. And some of you could very well panic and try and run. But what you have to do is remain calm under a critical situation. So once the game is over, the players that did survive and pass the game go back to the place where they stay, the place where they sleep, eat, all that stuff, the main room. And there ends up being a vote, with the two options being that the players stay and see out the rest of the games, or they go home now because this is a bit ridiculous and a little bit insane. And the majority of players vote that they should all go home, so that's what they do. Everyone goes home, and I didn't think that that would really be possible, but yeah, they had a choice to either continue or go home. But in the same episode, we see the sort of backstory of the main characters, and they are all in such dire situations that they end up going back to the Squid Games. So I'm going to quickly go over one of the characters from the show because I want to make a full in-depth video just talking about this one character, because he just deserves like a whole video just on him and no one else. I'm not too sure how to pronounce his name, but I think it's something like Junho. So his story is that he snuck onto one of the vans that were going to the island where the whole operation takes place, and he ends up killing one of the guards and taking his uniform and pretty much becoming one of the guards of the games. And this, oh my god, when I saw this take place, I literally got so excited because this was such an interesting angle to watch. Yes, the most enjoyable aspect about Squid Game is the actual games, but just knowing that there's a guard in there that isn't supposed to be there and they don't really know what they're doing, you know, that whole aspect of the show was so intense because he had to follow the rules and he didn't really know what he was doing. And some people did pick up on this and thought he was a bit suspicious, but he did very well to stay disguised as long as possible. And he did stay disguised, you know, long enough for him to get what he needed. He did get compromised though at some point, which made me shit myself when watching, but that was again so intense to watch. And I just can't even imagine Squid Game without this sort of angle now. Like, as I said before, the games are definitely the most interesting part, but the fact that someone is there undercover is so enjoyable to watch. So when they do catch on to him, he has to switch disguises. He switches to one of the servants for the VIPs. He has a scene where one of the VIPs tries to get him to do some sexual actions to try and satisfy him. And Yun-Ho says, fuck that, grabs the bollocks with all of his might and squeezes. And that did make me kind of feel sick, I'm not gonna lie. But that's what the VIP deserved. And I loved his use of English there as well. That was very interesting to see.
Satisfy me in 5 minutes. I might let you leave.
I know the VIPs are all English, and I think one of the aspects of that is that, like, you know, they're also stuck up and they're just Americans and they're not willing to sort of communicate in Korean, which is their language. They're just a bunch of fucking arrogant dickhead assholes, to be honest with you. But that's the point, you know? Rich ass betting motherfuckers. But he did once again get compromised after that because everyone got suspicious as to why the VIP hadn't came back and they found him tied up and knocked out or something like that. He took one of the oxygen what the fuck? He took one of the oxygen tanks. Oxygen tanks? That's weird to say for me. Is that just me? Try and say that real quick. Oxygen... What? Wait. Oxygen... I can't even say the first fucking word. Oxygen... wait, what? Oxygen tanks. Oxygen tanks. Oxygen tanks. That's so weird. Anyway, so he makes his escape, but they end up catching up to him, and then the guy in the black mask is revealed to be the brother of the undercover policeman, which was a big shock, you know, and a big shock for him to learn that his brother is one of the superiors. And it's there and then where he gets shot and is potentially killed. We don't actually know if he did die here. He could be back for season 2, which I really hope so. But yeah, I'm going to go into a proper in-depth analysis of this character sometime soon. So for the rest of the video, it's going to be all about pretty much the games and anything else. So yeah, Yun-Ho, what a legend. Thank you so much for your performances in season 1. I'm not too sure what his real name is, but you know, he did a cracking job, so hopefully we'll see him in season 2. So let's move on now to episode 3, where we see the second game take place. And this game, I don't know what it's called, but you have to perfectly cut out a shape from Honeycomb, and if you mess up in any way, shape or form, that's you. Pop, getting shot in the head, you're done. And with this game you had to choose wisely, because you did choose the shape that you had to cut out, and you had to choose between circle, triangle, star, and an umbrella. So obviously some shapes would have been easier to cut out than others. Some people get lucky and they choose the easier shapes like triangle, and some other people get very unlucky because they made the mistake of choosing the likes of the umbrella. Some people do discover tricks though to make it easier, like the crazy ass bitch, I don't even know what her name is, but you know, the crazy one had a lighter and she was able to sort of make the honeycomb weaker by, you know, flaming the bitch. And then the main character found out a very good technique where he just started licking the honeycomb to make it weaker and to make it easier to cut out the shape. And he had the umbrella as well, so he had a tough job for sure, but he got there in the end. Fair play to him. I would have been shitting myself in this one. Like, I mean, the first one, I can imagine myself getting through it. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that I would beat red light, green light, but the only fear I would have would be shaking too much that the doll detects that I'm moving, because I would be shitting myself. Because yet again, you could probably sit there and think, oh well, you just gotta stay still, it's not that hard. But if people are getting shot all around you and you have to stay still, you're going to be shaking. You're going to be shaking. And with this one, I don't think I would have the hand-eye coordination to pull this off, I'm not going to lie. Even if I had the triangle, I'd probably mess up somehow, you know what I mean? I mean, I've never been good with all the arts and crafts sort of things in school. And, you know, cutting out this sort of shape, I'd probably mess it up. I'd probably mess the triangle up. But anyways, back to the game where they have to cut out the shapes. I do want to talk about a scene from this game. And it's when someone messes up their shape and they know they're going to die. So they improvise and they actually take one of the guards hostage. And this is very interesting because he tells the guard to unmask himself, and he does. But then the big boss man appears and he shoots the guard dead.
방심해. 우리가 누군지 알게 되면 죽는다.
And it's at this point we realise that the guards are very vulnerable, just like the contestants. Not as vulnerable, but they... Like, when I first saw the guards, I thought, oh shit, they're like superior, but they're really not. So now I want to talk about a scene from episode 4, because it's in this episode where the contestants realise that they can actually kill each other outside of the games to, you know, bring that number down and to increase their chances of winning. I didn't like the sound of that because that ruins things for me, you know. I think everyone deserves to, you know, play the next game if they made it past the last game. If you actually get past a few of the games and then you just get killed by some thug, you know, when you're just trying to sleep, then that's some bullshit, you know what I'm saying? That's some bullshit. But this made for a fucking incredible scene, I won't lie. I mean, the scene where they all just start attacking each other, the lights are constantly flicking, it's just absolute chaos. I mean, that was just fucking insane. So let's talk about the third game then, and this is Tug of War, a very classic game that everyone knows and loves. But this is pretty terrifying because with this one, if you lose, you don't get shot dead instantly by the guards, you fall to your death. The team that loses will get yanked off the platform and they'll all be hanging on the rope until the guillotine comes down, cuts the rope, everyone falls, and that's it. I mean, some of them don't actually die on impact as well, they're just lying there with their brains hanging out or whatever, and it's pretty grim. But yeah, not a nice way to go at all. This show is brutal, by the way, but I love that they didn't hold back with that sort of aspect of it, you know? It's just got such a nice contrast because they're all like childhood games, but whoever loses comes to a brutal demise. It's fucking... Oh, it's such a... I just love the concept of it. And I think the whole concept was actually thought of by the creator back in like 2008 or 2009, I heard. But they didn't have the budget to actually make the show a reality. And I think also it would have been too brutal to sort of broadcast back then. So let's talk about the main characters, that team, because they had a very good technique by, was it the old man? Yeah, it was the old man, where they all leant back and didn't, like, you know, try and tug right away. And I thought that would have been the perfect way to, you know, make them win. But no, the episode ends and it goes to the next one, and they actually come very, very close to losing. And I was like kind of shitting myself at this point watching this. My heart was going a bit fast, but I knew that there's just no way they are all going to fall to their death. Like that's near enough all the main characters, you know, dead within that one game. Like, that just couldn't happen. And then the smart guy, I can't remember what his name is, but I just kept thinking of him as the smart one because he kept, like, he figured out how to play the games, you know what I mean? And he made it to the end as well, so, you know, he knows what he's doing. He has this idea where they have to go to the edge, but that actually puts the other team at a disadvantage because they mess up and they start stumbling. I don't know how it works exactly, but, you know, you can see it as I'm showing you it here. Now, if I was to play this game in real life, I would be at a greater concern than the previous two games, because it's not just me I'm relying on, it's the whole team that I've got around me that I have to rely on as well, you know? It's teams of 10, so You know, if you have a weak team, then you can do everything you can, but it's just not going to be enough. So the fourth game they play is a marble game, and this was kind of heartbreaking because they had to choose partners for this, but it turns out that, and this is a good idea, but I should have seen this coming, to be fair. Only one of them will make it out alive, so they actually play against each other with the marbles. They choose whatever game they want with the marbles, but only one of them comes out alive. There were some very heartbreaking moments in this game, but I think the one that struck me the most was, I can't remember what her name is, but the girl that was with Sai Beok. Is that how you pronounce her name? Oh shit. She just completely sacrificed herself because when they were playing the game, they had to see who got their marble closest to the wall, and she just dropped her marble and made herself loose instantly, and that was so sad. There was a shot as well where, you know, Sai Beok was walking away, and in the back you just see the girl that sacrificed herself get shot in the head. Oh man. And I mean, this show was always gonna have a lot of deaths with characters that you sort of get attached to. I didn't really get attached to that many of the characters, but I definitely felt for them. But that's what you had to expect though, because there can only be one winner, so everyone was dying except one. So I did see those deaths coming. There were a couple though that I didn't see coming, and I'll talk about one of them now, and that is Ali. Ali was a legend, and he got betrayed by the smart guy. The smart guy lost to Ali, and he managed to convince Ali that they can work together and escape with their lives together, which just wasn't possible, but Ali was very gullible and he fell for it, and that ended up being the cost of his death. So he got betrayed by the smart guy, and they had a nice friendship as well before that, so yeah, that was pretty heartbreaking. The thing is though, I couldn't really blame the smart guy for doing that, because he had lost. He was going to die, so of course he's going to do whatever he can, and since he does have the brains, you know, he was able to figure out a smart way to betray Ali. You can only respect him, you know, for it. I mean, I know that's probably not what I should be saying, but I don't really blame him all that much, I'm not gonna lie. And then of course we had the death of the old man, or did we? Which was also very sad at the time, because the main character who was partnered up with the old man, they were very close from the start, and he did betray him as well because the old man's got a dodgy memory. The main character was saying that he said even though he said odd and stuff like that, so yeah, that was sad at the time. So for the fifth game then, they have to choose their numbers off of mannequins. They have to choose what number they are, and they later find out that that number represents the order in which you play the game in. And if you were the guy to pick number 1, you would be absolutely fucked. Well and truly done. You would just have so much regret, because the next game is the one that I was talking about before, and it is the glass walk. So there's 2 sides, and each glass panel is either sturdy enough to hold you up or weak enough to break, and you'll fall right the way down, plunging to your death. So of course the guy that goes first is completely screwed, because there is such, it's not impossible, but there is such a low chance that he is going to choose the right glass panel each and every time before he gets across to the end. I felt so bad for the guy as well. He actually wanted to be number 1 as well, when he could have chose number 16, which was the last person to go. Fuck, imagine that regret. We lose some big characters in this game as well. We lose the big bully, you know, I think his name's Doksu. From the start was just an absolute asshole, you know, scumbag, and he ended up plunging to his death because of the crazy woman. They had such a rivalry, by the way, and the fact that that ended with both of them just plunging to their deaths, you know, it was very fitting, I think. The crazy woman did say that she would kill him if he betrayed her. He did betray her, and then she got the chance to wrap her arms around him and just send him off. But unfortunately, she did have to kill herself in the process. But, you know, I definitely respect her for that. She was a bit annoying, but she said what she was going to do. And the fact that she was able to do that, you know, plunge herself to her death. Such bravery. So only 3 of these contestants made it all the way across. There were so many to start off with, but only 3 made it all the way, which is realistic, you know, because I mean, no one is getting across there unless you are at the back of the line, you know, the back few. So we have the smart guy, Say Baek, and Gyeong, the main character. Oh, these names, I'm sorry. Number 456, number 67, and smart guy, I don't even know the numbers. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but yeah, I couldn't remember names with this series. Or numbers, really. And there was this badass scene where once they got across, the guards or whoever from above shot up all the glass. So all these glass shards came flying to those 3 characters that got all the way across. And there was this epic slow motion scene of the glass cutting across people's faces, people's, like, everywhere. Which was a bit, you know, unnecessary. I mean, they just made it all the way across and you're going to reward them with that shit? Like, what the fuck? What are you doing? And this actually ends up being near enough the cause of someone's death, because Say Baek ends up getting badly injured from these shards of glass, and she gets a big ass one right in her ribs or liver or something, I don't even know, just in her body somewhere, and she ends up losing a lot of blood because of this. But the 3 finalists are indeed rewarded with a nice dinner, so that's good, the first proper meal. This actually reminds me, by the way, of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. But, you know, obviously I'm a Celebrity isn't too violent, but if you're from the UK, then you'll know that it's a game show somewhat like Squid Game in some way, shape or form. And the finalists who make it all the way do get rewarded with a nice dinner. But after the dinner, the guards put a knife in front of each of the contestants. And when I watched this, I thought there is no way the final is just going to be them hashing it out with knives. Please, no. Can you imagine you actually make friendships as well in this and you have to literally stab them to death? Nah. Okay, so this next thing that I'm going to talk about was very, very frustrating to watch. So the main character sees the smart guy falling asleep and he goes to take that opportunity to kill him there and then. He's pissed because he betrayed Ali and he also completely shoved the guy that was in front of them in the glass game through the wrong bit of glass. I mean, the smart guy was an absolute fucking psychopath. But again, I can't really blame him too much. I do blame him for pushing the guy because they had time. They had like 20 seconds. Like, he would have chose, you know, very soon after that. If not, then yeah, push him when there's like maybe 10 seconds left. That's still enough time to get, you know, 3 people across. But Say Baek actually stops the main character from killing the smart guy. And this only goes to backfire on her because she ends up drifting off herself because she's lost so much blood and she's just out of it. And when the main character goes to get help to save her life, smart guy comes back up from his doze and he kills Say Baek. So let me get this straight here for a second. Say Baek saved the life of smart guy and smart guy killed her as a return. I mean, that is when I truly started to hate this guy, you know. But then again, I know it's so messed up, but can you actually blame him? Maybe you can for this, but he is so desperate to win that he just doesn't care. He will do whatever it takes. There can only be one winner, so he knows that, you know, she is going to die one way or another, so he decided, since she was already out of it, just to finish the job. I mean, can you... Oh, that's so sadistic though. So here we have the final episode of Squid Game Season 1, and it all comes down to this. The main character versus the smart guy. I'm going to actually get their names as well because I feel like I'm being a bit disrespectful not calling them by their proper names. Seyoung Ji Hun is the main character and Cho Sang Woo is the smart guy. So this last game is called Squid Game and it's very violent. There's no restrictions. So this just ends up being a complete brawl, knives involved, and they also don't mind killing each other because Seyoung hates Cho Sang Woo at this point for killing Say Baek and, you know, the other people that he killed as well. So Seyoung gets Woo. I'm so sorry. So Seon gets Cho... I can't do this. So Seon gets Cho in a position where he has pretty much won, but he actually doesn't decide to go through with killing him. He decides to save his life and to end the game, because there was an option for them to both, if they both agreed to end the game, then they can do that. I don't know what happens after that, but that's what they were going for. But then Cho Sang-woo actually takes a knife and stabs himself in the neck. So at the end, after all of that, he actually killed himself. He would do whatever it takes to win this game, but at the very end, he just decided to finish himself off. So that's it then. The main character does win the whole competition, and he wins that insane amount of money. So he returns home and he's actually given a credit card, and when he checks the account, the correct amount of money is indeed there. So it wasn't like a big scam or anything. He won fair and square and he got that money. But then he returns home to find his mum dead on the floor. And he actually wanted to get that money for his mum so that they can, you know, sort out their problems. She had some health issues and they can, you know, get a good house, etc, etc. But she died. She just up and died. So he's just there like, god damn. Then it flashes forward a year later and we see that the main character is depressed because of the trauma and the people he lost in the games and his mum dying. So even though he became so rich, you know, the whole thing was so traumatizing that he was pretty much scarred for life. But then he gets a card from the same people that run the whole Squid Games operation, and the card says to meet in a building somewhere. And when he goes to meet whoever this person is, it turns out to be the old man. So the old man survived and he never actually got killed in the marble game. I was watching this and thinking, okay, well, how's that happened? Did they just spare his life because, like, does he have some sort of relation to them? I don't know. And then the old man reveals the truth. And the truth is, he is one of the superiors behind the whole operation. He was one of the very rich people that got bored with life and decided to start this whole thing to have a bit of fun. And the reason why he was a contestant and not one of the superiors, you know, watching and betting, was because he wanted to just simply have some fun. And he played these games as a child and therefore wanted to get involved and play them one last time. He did have a brain tumour as well and he knew he was on his way out, so, you know, he decided to go ahead and join in on the games. And then shortly after that, the old man passes away there and then, and the main character was furious with him because, you know, he was just thinking, how could you put all of us through that? You know, what the hell's wrong with you? And then comes an amazing scene where the main character comes across the guy doing the game that he did to get him into the Squid Games. You know, the whole red card, red paper, blue paper, hitting, flipping. I just don't know the name of it though. I think it's like Doshi or something like that. Dosha. So he rushes to try and catch up to this guy, but he ends up being too late. The guy disappears off on a train, and then he goes and properly threatens this guy to not go to the Squid Games, it'll ruin your life, and he takes a card off the guy. So he's just trying to look out for people now because he knows what people will be getting themselves into. So he rings the number from the card and he lets the boss know that he is not going to settle for them doing this to other people, which does leave a story for season 2. You know, the main character could travel back to the island once again, but this time he could go to stop the whole operation. Aside from that, I think that's pretty much all I've got to say about Squid Game. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this review, and if you did, then make sure you drop a like on the video for me, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.